going on out there, everybody? This is Sammy Leggett here representing TeamJVS, here to give you guys a TV show review. This is another Disney Plus feature, and yes, this is Marvel related, and I am talking about Captain Nobody. Oh, God. I gotta redo this whole thing because my beats are not connected, and that threw me off. All right. Rewind. All right. What's going on out there, everybody? This is Sammy Leggett here representing TeamJVS, back here again to give you guys another TV show review. This is the first two episodes of Marvel's brand new series, and that is Miss Marvel. Now, if you don't know anything about Miss Marvel, don't worry, because this is their own take on the character, but a lot of the things that make Miss Marvel are still grounded there. But I'll go ahead and get into a little bit of backdrop for her. Kamala Khan is a Muslim Pakistani American teenager. She's currently in high school. Her best friend's name is Bruno. She's kind of like outwardly sheltered, but at the same exact time, she's really kind of trying to come into her own. She does have a few friends here or there, but she has a very big place in her family's life, and she really idolizes Captain Marvel. So what does that mean for this series? So I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys a small backdrop with it for me. I've not really read too many Miss Marvel comics. The most I've read about Miss Marvel is normally connected to like Miles or some of the like Young Avengers. I haven't really even played the new Avengers game that features Kamala Khan, which I heard she's the best thing about that. I do know that Miss Marvel has polymorphic abilities similar to Mr. Fantastic, but very different because based on the comics, she has the ability of stretching any limb. She can transform her physiology. She can look completely different. She can change from growing to being shrunken. So it's very atmospherically different than Mr. Fantastic outside of just being stretchy. Like she can grow specific limbs. Like if she grows her hand very big, she can technically pick up a car. So how is this a little bit different? It is because the origins of her makeup are different in this series than it is in the comics, as well as the functionality of her powers. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I'll get into all that in just a second. But let's go ahead and break this down. I'm going to tell you guys this. The very first episode, and this is a non-spoiler review, the very first episode, when you're watching it, I think you're immediately going to fall in love with the directors and what the directors are trying to do. Like the way that this was written, the way it was staged, it feels like what Spider-Man Homecoming should have been. Its own authentic experience of an origin story. I think one of the things with like Spider-Man Homecoming, it was kind of like, we know who Spider-Man is. We've never seen Spider-Man, as a real true to form high schooler just going through the works, but it's kind of like we knew, and they made it very different. But this feels very authentic, and actually I dug it, like, because what they did was, if you've seen Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, with that, the music and the verbiage and the wording, like it's plastered all over the screen, right? If you looked at Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse in 3D, you would be like, wow, you're at home. They pick a lot of things from this and dissect it. Like they kind of like merge certain things, whether it's like the music is actually really good. The music for this is great, specifically in the first episode. Score is really good. It keeps upbeat, keeps really fresh. It feels very youthful, but not like annoyingly youthful, if that makes sense. Like it's not like, oh, well, they just put this random song here just to throw you off. Like, no, it was really cool. But the funny thing is when you see like a text message here or Kamala's having a thought in her head, and you see throughout the city as she's walking through, as she's generally going through, the camera will show the backdrop where there's a little blip here, there's something there. And they play with that very well. Like it makes it feel really fresh. And I love the way that they handle that, because I was like, this is really cool. Like I instantly, and this is weird, I've never had this experience with any of the other Marvel shows or films, that I immediately was like, yo, I love what the directing and creating and the camera angles are doing with this. I'm falling in love with that before I even fell in love with the character. Now, Iman as Miss Marvel, what do I think of her? I think she's cute. I think she's doing a really good job with making me believe fully that this is a high school student. Because in the first episode, towards the back half, and in the second episode, there were certain decisions that she was making that I was like, why are you making this decision? Why are you doing this? Like, that's just a dumb decision to make. Like, you shouldn't do this. This could be handled so much more differently. Are you making things harder for yourself by hiding this or doing that or deceiving this person or trying to play up this? And I think there was only one thing that happened in the second episode that I was kind of like, it felt like it was not necessarily shoehorned in, but it was kind of like a situation that was just put in just to make a situation happen. But there's still a little bit of believability there that, okay, this is a high school student that has absolutely no idea what to do with powers. Like, of course, she's gonna mess up, right? Whereas with Spider-Verse, like, it's not a series, it's a movie, so you kind of have to rewind, unwind. I mean, it wasn't until really the apex of the movie that you finally get to see Miles really come into his own, kind of thing. The other weird thing is this is taking place in New Jersey, but I could easily see, like, if Miles Morales was, in close proximity of Kamala, like, I could see, like, them getting along. Like, it's so weird. Matter of fact, this is the other thing. So the character Bruno, that's being played by Matt Lintz. Now, I was like, where have I seen this guy before? Matt Lintz was actually Henry in The Walking Dead. And I was like, wow, this is the weird thing about his character in this. He was so lovable. Like, he's a genius and he's a tinkerer, but it's also, he's got Kamala's back, and like, he's like, this family, Kamala's family loves him. It's just so interesting because I was like, honestly, bro, like, if they try to make him be like a Peter Parker, I would be all for it. Like, it's so weird. Like, he feels like what Peter Parker would be, but not at the same time. Like, he definitely feels like his own character. But I was like, man, like, if you gave him some spider powers, honestly, like, you'd be Kamala and Spider-Man right here, right now. And it's so fascinating to see that and watch that. But yeah, let's talk about some of the other things that I know is going to be a point of contention with a lot of you guys, and even with me, even though I've not read too many of Ms. Marvel's comics, is her superpowers. Like, her powers and how they function in this. It is very vastly different. It's not necessarily polymorphic. It's kind of like, as her body moves, like, things populate to what she thinks. Honestly, the best way I can kind of put it, imagine a short range version of the Green Lantern ring, honestly, but it's emitting from her, kind of. And she's able to kind of like make it grow, make it, stretch. She's able to use certain things to make barriers, and it's really not it's really not Ms. Marvel's powers based on what I read and based on what I know. So it's very finitely different. But I do think that there's a reason and a rationale to that. It's similar. I think it stems from the same exact reason why with Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, as well as WandaVision, that there's not any connective tissue to Wanda with the mutants necessarily. And I think that with this, it's the same exact thing, because I'm not going to spoil where her powers derive from or why her powers is, but it makes sense. And also, it looks similar to another hero that they're also working into the fray, which is Mr. Fantastic. And again, I brought this up before, it's very different than Mr. Fantastic, but it also, you could be like, oh, wow, man, Kamala Khan, like, she's actually really cool. Like, what's the difference in her and Mr. Fantastic? And then Mr. Fantastic comes on the fray, and you're like, yeah, I like Kamala Khan more, So I think that may be a reason, a rationale why they did the powers like that. But personally, if that was the case, they still probably should have just kept powers be what it is. Now, I do have a theory specifically with her as things go on that may change. I have a suspicion that something's gonna happen, and I've only seen the first two episodes, but something tells me that things are about to get a lot crazier and weirder as the story progresses. I'll say this: I had no expectation going into this. I wasn't excited for it. I really wasn't. And after two episodes, now I'm kind of like, I really want to see it. I'm intrigued by the world that the directors have created. I'm liking the innocence that Iman is playing as Kamala. I'm liking some of the characters and even some of the atmospheric characters, because the character that is one of her best friends, Nakia, um, she her situation in this is very fascinating. Like, she has absolutely nothing to do with the superhero side of stuff, but her, like Kamala as a Muslim Pakistani woman coming into her own and trying to figure out how to navigate through not just the bullying, but trying to fit, figure out where she actually fits. There are certain characters that she runs into, and also some cultural things. There's some cultural things that it really does remind you of Miles Morales. It's so strange. Because honestly, if you look at Bruno, you could easily say that's a Genki / Ned. The way that Miles, from being, African American Latina, trying to fit in, it's just very fascinating. There's a lot of things they're pulling from that. I just hope that eventually we're gonna get a Miles Morales in a world with Kamala, because I think that this is where if they take this right and they start to work in like a Young Avengers type shows, I think that would make a very fascinating feat, as opposed to taking characters that are already older and established and kind of giving them a small little stretch or a mini series. I think that what they can tap into here with the youth, they could make a Young Avengers very quickly through concurrent series, as well as, like I said, the Marvel Knights. I think the Marvel Knights, from the low level, like grunt workers, I think that those two lanes, I think that's where we need more of these kind of series. And so, to be honest, first episode I think was easily an 8, and the second episode was like a 7.5, 8 out of 10, maybe 7.5. But I liked it. I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm gonna continue to watch Miss Marvel. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you want me to review any more episodes past episode 2. I'm willing at this point. I'll talk to you guys soon. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell button. And if you didn't know, Miss Marvel will be coming out on June the 8th. And I think they're going to be releasing the first 2 episodes. If they don't, I didn't spoil anything in this anyway. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Keep it locked. JVS, we ain't gonna stop. Peace, guys.
Filing out the top of
I can see the skyline, 50 mile radius on the timeline.